Once upon a time, in the NFC North.
I hear there's trouble in town.
Right.
Trying to lead the Lions under the lights are these Green Bay Packers.
The national
Future Hall of Fame quarterback, just fine, thank you.
ESPN welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Are you ready for some football?
50 years ago, the tradition took flight like a freight train rocking into the night. You've seen all the players, you know all the names. It's the world's most famous primetime game. The NFL's best play under these lights. Legends are made on Monday night. The Lions are ready. Lambeau's ready. Rivalry time. Are you ready for the football? A Monday night party. 50 years strong and just getting started. Grab the edge of your seat and hold on tight. All my right friends are here on Monday night.
Folks, do yourself a favor. Don't go
Monday night.
Folks, do yourself a favor. Don't go too far down that sports fan bucket list without taking a Monday.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Monday night, it's RaceSpotTV. We're live yet again from Road Atlanta for a fantastic race tonight with Monday Night Skippy Series. Rich White, Linus Prostrom bringing you all the action. And Linus, round number 6. The championship so far has been extremely open, and I think a lot's left to see tonight.
Yeah, it really is, and with Leah Hughes being in 3rd place winning last week, it closed everything up, and Edwards moved into a new championship lead, and once again those 3 are at the top of the standings in qualifying, so we're in for a good race and a continued championship battle by the looks of it.
We certainly do, and I'm quite impressed to see Sarah Savage up there in 3rd in qualifying so far. Not a position we've seen her in before. She's been in the top 10 a couple of times, but this is quite far forwards to the front. We're expecting some good things from her tonight.
Well, I don't know. I think the amount of draft you can get down the massive long straightaway you have here between turn 7 and turn 10A will give you maybe a second or even more around this track if you get it perfectly right. So I think she's had some good draft there, but obviously still impressed to see her up in 3rd place and hoping that she can keep it there. But she tends to make a few mistakes, especially early on cold tires, so if she can get through the first couple of laps, I think she'll do pretty well today.
I certainly think we should, because Simon Edwards looking like he's on pole position for now. Anthony Cat up there, Clay Hughes is there, got Cox, Patterson, Ward, Vaughan Roberts, Daniels and Clark Williams are regular top 10 contenders. And we definitely saw some things very different last week, Lenas. This time should be an exciting one. We'll get that checkered flag on qualifying now. Of course, we are here for 15 laps around the full course of Road Atlanta tonight, and we'll go to your starting grid. Simon Edwards up there with a 1 minute 35.195. Anthony Cat up in 2nd place. Sarah Savage is mentioned in 3rd. Clay Hughes is there in the 4th spot with Matt Cox in 5th place. We've got Ewan Patterson, Tom Ward, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, Mike Busher and Ben Daniels in top 10 spots, with Clark Williams just getting nudged out at the last moment in 11th place. It's Peter Cowan in 12th with Jack Hobbs, Lee Anderson, Jake Ridlington, Chris J. Robertson, Matthew Crisp, S.J. Dunning, Gary Tall and John Torpy in 20th place. The rest of those positions coming up on your screen. And Linus, this track, the first sector incredibly twisty, the rest of it draft central.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a steep uphill into quite a lot of right and left-handers and a blind crest you have to go over, so it's very easy to get it wrong, especially when you're on cold tires and there's cars all around you. But the cars at the very back of this field, 57 cars, I think 55 are qualifying at least. The last bunch of cars will be starting downhill going into the last corner, so it's going to be more bunched up than usual going into turn number 1 here today.
Quite likely. What's our 1 second bracket tonight? It's always a critical one to look at. We're looking for a 136.19, and this always shows us just how competitive the field is likely to be. We're looking really at 19th place there with Gary Tall, so it's big, but it's not as big as it has been in the past. So we're talking 19 cars in that second bracket, so a lot of speed, a lot of drafting potential, but this is open qualifying rather than solo car, so it tends to shake things up a little bit, but shaking it up always makes the racing a lot more exciting. This track, of course, will definitely test the driver's skill, and the new car with its definite productivity towards either a cornering setup or a straight line speed setup, we should see some real differences.
Yes, we tend to have Simon Edwards going for the straight line speed more than the corners, and Cat seems to be doing the opposite, so it's definitely going to be proof here today which one will pay off most, but I think the draft will help both drivers quite a lot because that straightaway is so long. I think you possibly can draft up to the lead from 3rd, maybe even from 4th place if you get a good exit, so it's as long as you can keep with the lead pack, you definitely got a chance all the way up until the exit of that, onto that straightaway on the last lap.
Agreed, and it's something we'll have to see how it plays out on the track as the cars now head out to the grid spots to begin today's race. Look at our weather in the server right now. We're seeing clear skies, which of course always makes things a little bit slipperier with that skybox. We've got 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, track temperature 91, a little cooler than normal, so cooler with a clear skybox. That's going to definitely make this slidey, Lena. 6 miles an hour from the northeast for wind, low humidity. Yeah, this is slippy time.
Yeah, it really is, and about the front 10-15 cars are going to start flat. The rest are going to start downhill, and the very last car is actually going to start at the top of the hill, so they're going to have to start in a bit of an uphill, so that's going to be interesting to see how how close everybody will be going into turn 1, and if that'll help the guys towards the back, if they'll get enough speed to maybe be 3, 4 and 5 wide going into turn 1.
Certainly should be excited to see how that one plays forwards with the race, but I'm really excited to see what happens with Sarah Savage up there. She's definitely got a bit more of an aggressive style, so it should make things quite interesting. As far as the others go, I want to see Clay Hughes make his way up there, and Tom Ward's going to be the bull of the China shop we always hope for, and try and get himself towards the front of this race. One thing we noticed, especially with the new models, Linus, that really the leader is the draft victim. Everyone else behind them, we don't tend to see a lot of them make those moves. So is it going to be Sector 1 as the lights come on? I'll ask it a question once we get under green flag conditions here, of course. But the cars are starting to get ready for the green flag here today. 15 laps around Road Atlanta. And the race will start in just a few seconds time now. Those engines are always kind of slightly on the quiet side, so it's hard to hear them rev up, especially when you're talking quite loudly. But always makes for an exciting start. This first corner, troublesome at the best of times, and the blind turn 3 will definitely be a hinge point on this first lap. Engines rev, lights are on. Green flag. Race starts now. The long run here along the front straight towards that first corner. A trouble spot already for these drivers, as it does have a big drop off to the sand trap on the outside. And the climb up to turn 2 and the blind 3 now, as it's 3 wide, just a little bit further back at the back of the top 10 there, as the cars will all come filtering through. Rest of that field cycling up across the crest. No drama yet at the front. We've seen some movement, Linus, but it's not really plucking in as we expected. As
we got a car flipping at the back.
Tell us.
That would be, well, I'm trying to figure out who that was actually. It's kind of hard to tell because that car is destroyed.
Yeah.
And Sarah Savage has
out.
gone off as well, as you can see on the camera there in the very far distance. She just went off into the grass, and she is, well, she's not going to finish in the top 5.
Yeah, replay there for you on the screen. She just gets loose there in the corner before it, Linus, and just the back end stepped out. She went across. Good avoidance by the guys in front of her, but oh, big crash in turn 6, just ahead of them there. Going to try and work out who's involved in this one. That's a massive crash. Cowan at the front of that, but I'm going to try and find out who was involved. The core of this came from the 48 car. It's Jake Ridlington, who just lost the back end in the middle of the corner, steps out, gets collected as cars slow down to avoid him. Everyone ends up piling into other vehicles, and that was a massive mess. And it does seem as though that cold tire phenomenon we talked about is already claiming victims. We've seen Cat catch up to Edwards now, big gap there to third where Sarah Savage was. That's now Clay Hughes, of course. But as we stand, Tom Ward is trying to get a little bit closer here. Has he actually moved up forwards? Okay, that's shifted around more than I expected. Okay, so we're into turn 1, and Ward has made it through that group of cars. He's past Ewan Patterson now on the start-finish line. Daniel's catching up there with Vaughan Roberts, near, or too wide for the two of those two. He's going to come the inside now on Cox. And Cox runs a little wide. Patterson, or behind them, Vaughan Roberts went off into the grass, Linus. So it's really beyond these cars right now. These cold tyres, they have to be babied so hard.
Yeah, first couple of laps until you get to heating them properly, you really got to be careful with what you're doing. And you saw first lap there, Sarah just got loose coming around. Very little bit of a corner. I mean, it's not a sharp corner, so she just had too much momentum over the bumps, I guess. But front 5 pulling away pretty nicely here. Cox obviously dropping back, and the field spreading out very much here at the beginning, more than I expected. And Dave Martin already made it up from 23rd up to 11th, so he's had a good start.
Yeah, Nick Sigley as well, 22nd to 15th as well, 28th to 14th for Stefan Nobis. So a lot of this shaking around with the cars all spun out in turn 6 on that lap 1. It's definitely already opened things up for us in terms of the running order right now. But we've seen a little bit further forwards, Tom Ward up into 4th place as he runs now. But a good gap here to Clay Hughes ahead of him. But with him running with Patterson and Hughes on his own, Linus, we should see those two gang up a little bit once they can get a little bit closer. But again, there's a huge gap once again to Edwards and Cat right at the front. Those two making good steam, as right now it's going to be, I believe, Cat out front here from Simon Edwards. As across the line they come in, a bit of a bobble there across the line. He got a little bit of grass, got a little sideways, and up the inside shoots Simon Edwards, takes the lead before they enter turn 1. A couple of cars coming out the pits ahead of them. That might be a bit of a roadblock for the leaders.
Oh, there's 7 cars, 6 cars ahead of them. That's going to be interesting.
That's going to be
and one of them goes off. Oh, he's in the grass, so no worries for that.
I believe that would be Tim Adcock from the look of things, as he stayed there where he needed to be. Now the traffic catching up to them, so we should be able to see this changing.
Possibly. I think these two will have a pretty good gap at the front. And we know Cat and Edwards, they tend to work together when they get a gap like this. So if they can just draft past each other every time down the straightaway, I think they're going to have an advantage. And all the lap cars now falling perfectly for Simon Edwards here. He's going to have a massive draft all the way down the straightaway off all these lap cars. So it's going to be a good chance for Edwards and Cat to open the gap up even more back to Lee Hughes and Tom Ward. But at the moment it is just under a second and a half, so one little battle too much at the front, and Lee Hughes and Tom Ward Pattinson are going to be right there.
Absolutely are, and right now I'm just keeping my eyes here on Cat and Edwards as they filter through some of this traffic. Now 3 cars ahead of them that are all over the road here. And they're all racing each other 2, nearly 3 wide here. They're going to be 3 wide under the bridge there. As the leaders come up to this roadblock ahead of them. Car spins!
He goes around. Wow.
Wow, that was a little bit too close for comfort as everyone tried to scatter out of the way here of the lead group coming through. But
that was actually Paul Smith who went in the wall in front of him.
Oh, at least Paul Smith got to see what the track was like ahead of the leaders this race, so that's a good one for him. I do apologise, Paul. We love you, of course.
Just backs off into the barrier.
Yeah, unfortunate for Paul Smith to lose that one there, especially live on camera. But looking back here at Tom Ward in this group now, technically up to 3rd place, they managed to get through on Claire Hughes there on the back stretch. And now they've got to deal with the lap cars who are a little bit less like, oh, that lap car there, the 25 machine, got quite sideways, Linus, and that nearly possibly took out the group that were running behind our leaders. That would have been very awkward if we'd lost 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah, they did a good job avoiding that, and he did a good job staying enough out of the way anyway. As we're looking back here, we can see Matthew Crisp in a battle with Peter Cowan, Stefan Nobis coming onto the straightaway, chasing down Gary Toll as well, but he's pulled off quite far ahead. Dave Martin at the back of this train as well. See the draft here, how massive it is now as Chris moves out to the left side, and he's just going to disappear right past Peter Cowan. And behind him comes Nobis as well. He's going to make it 3 wide in the middle, and he's just going to shoot right past both of them. That's massively big run that he gets there. And well, Nobis is going to move up into P11.
Certainly is there, and there's an absolute cluster going on here now around 3rd place as Ewan Patterson gets back past Tom Ward and the run of the bridge. And we're seeing a lot of that lap traffic still ahead of them, having an impact in how this race plays forwards. Clay Hughes up there too, as up the inside shoots Ward. Patterson up behind him as they use the lap traffic as a pick there. Behind them, Ben Daniel's going to come through as well over the blind 3 crest. The leaders maintaining that gap now to Clay Hughes, Linus. Cat and Edwards holding about a 2-second window.
Yeah, they've opened it up slightly, so it's nearly 2 seconds now, and that means that Lee Hughes is not going to get any draft whatsoever from them on the straightaway. So it's up to those two now how well they can work together. That was close from Ward, yeah.
And you got very sideways on the exit of 5 there as they're going to go up to 6 now. That sidewaysness, it's definitely been one of the trouble spots always with Atlanta, somewhere we've always seen cars getting loose, always having a bit of a moment, but he holds it together. I thought he might lose momentum now, which would cost him in the run to 6, but it hasn't so far. Cat leads them through 7 now, along with Simon Edwards. We're probably going to see Edwards make the customary pass here in the run down towards the chicane. It's an early pass, so that's a nice easy move for him there, and these two just exchanging positions. And this is just helping them, Linus, to maintain that lead, hold that window open here, and extend a gap where they can choose to fight between each other for this race lead on the final laps, rather than having to worry about people from behind.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what they need to do, and we've seen this from them time and time again in this series all the way through the seasons. And for some reason it's always Simon Edwards is up there with somebody else doing it, and Cat is one of the best for him to have up there to be able to drive away like this. And actually on this lap the gap closed in slightly from Lee Hughes, but don't think he's going to be able to catch them. And it's weird because Pattinson and Ward was not catching up to Lee Hughes either. So Hughes seems to be having a very fast car in the straight line.
He really does. I mean, they've caught up a little bit, but it's not been a massive volume of catching up for them so far. Taking a look back right now, Gary Tall, 19th to 10th now. He's running in a bit of an open window. Just ahead of him there is Hobbs and Vaughan Roberts. on the racetrack, but Gary Tall running clean. Stefanovic just had an accident, and that's been on the run from turn 1 to 2. Have a look at what happened to him here. And this is another Skippy slide out, but like we said, the clear skybox with the colder temperatures, Linus, is making them run a little bit looser than perhaps they like to here, as he didn't hit anything. Maintained his position, kept off the racing line whilst he was spun around, of course, but replay there for you of that moment is this does seem to be one of those things we're really seeing quite often here.
Yeah, he just goes a little bit too fast into turn 1 and gets sideways, then puts a wheel in the grass and spins out. He thankfully does not hit the wall though, and he takes very long time to get going again, and he has since actually retired that car onto pit lane, so he is unfortunately out of this race. He had a very good run though, moving almost up into the top 10 from 28th starting position, so that's unfortunate for him, as we're back on board here with Simon Edwards coming down the hill right behind Anthony Cat again to start lap number 7 this time, so almost halfway.
Oh, Linus behind here, looking just behind 26th place. We've got Parnell and Buscher. We've got Patterson there in a 3 wide here with PM Jones and Robertson. They are all over each other now in the run down towards chicane. 3 wide on the approach. Who's going to blink first? This is back for 29th position here, and an absolute cluster of cars there into the 910 chicane. Everything filtering out reasonably well there, as we're still going to have Anthony PM Jones 2 wide as they come under the Suzuki bridge. But he should get in that position for the final corner and make him up another spot here.
Good move, they're using the draft and being late on the brakes into the chicane, but here he comes back on the inside now, Buscher, and he's going to take that position back away from PM Jones going up the hill, but he's going to have a look to get the inside here in the next corner. Oh, and they make contact, and he goes around, slides just off the racing line when the rest of the people comes up, but that's unfortunate. Buscher is, they're actually both going to keep going, but Buscher is going to lose about 3 positions, and PM Jones is going to lose 6 or 7, but it doesn't look to be too much damage on either of those cars, so very lucky for them to not have more damage than they do.
Absolutely. Sarah Savage recovering from 3rd place where she started after her accident. She's up to 29th now after that. Not had a great race for her, but she's fighting back here.
Yeah, she's right up with these guys now, right behind them, up into 27th, 28th position now, so as Buscher goes off again right in front of her. Wow, he's not having a good day today.
Now he rejoins in front of the car as well, which caused a bit of a moment there. A little bit further up, we're looking at the gap now. It's still maintaining around 2 seconds here between Cat and Hughes. So we've not really seen that gap change here, but we have seen Tom Ward, Patterson and Daniels catch right up to the back here. There's a gap between, of course, Daniels and Patterson, but Ward and Patterson now right on the back of the Welsh driver.
Yeah, they are. They've caught up to him. They had that little bit of draft going down straight, and that was enough. The leaders has not been able to open up the gap to Lee, so he's still 1.6, 1.7 seconds behind Anthony Cat, so doing a good job keeping up there. And now that there's a trio of them, if they can work well enough down the straightaways, they can possibly get into the draft of Cat and Edwards, and we could have a 5-car race, possibly 6-car race, because Daniels is holding on at the back there as well. And you can see Cat is moving out of the draft up ahead of him, so he's not getting past Simon Edwards as I think Edwards would like at this point, and that's definitely going to help these guys. As you can see now, Ward moves out of line. He's going to go past Lee Hughes pretty easily, and he's going to have that position well before the braking zone, and then Pattinson is just going to stay in line. So this is exactly what they need to do, and they will have that those top two positions within reach in I'd say 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, we really are here as just seeing Ward there making it past Claire Hughes finally. Does this mean we're perhaps going to see the gap now between Edwards, Cat and Ward close in, and maybe see 3rd, 4th race catch up now with a faster car leading that group, or is Ward going to be the faster car? Does this maybe result in a 3-way battle there for 3rd, 4th, 5th, or is this going to change the race finale?
Well, it depends on the front two here. Cat for some reason did not pass Edwards on that last lap, so if he keeps staying behind him, obviously that's going to slow both of them down, and all these guys are going to catch back up. But it's a weird tactic from Cat. I thought he would just go right past him, so it's all up to him. But this gap is now down to 1.3 as they go up the hill, and that is going to be just at the edge of the draft for these guys, so they're going to be catching up really, really quickly here. If Ward can just get a good exit onto the straightaway, and Lee Hughes goes right past him early on, that's going to be exactly what they need, and they're going to be close.
It's likely going to happen here. Ward just went wide and got himself on the grass, and that's just opened the door now for Lee Hughes. So perhaps that battle too wide is what we're going to see here. But at the front, we're going to have Cat once again just stalling himself out of the draft there. Doesn't want to make a pass here.
It's a weird tactic.
It's eating their lead away.
You can see they're getting a lot closer now. Lee Hughes back into third. He is going to be, let's see when they get to the line, it's going to be about 1.2, 1.3 seconds. It's a good run around the last corner, and that gap has gone down to actually 1.4, so it didn't really change on that lap. Stayed pretty much exactly the same, which is interesting. But Cat is going to have to make a move on Simon Edwards going down the straight if he wants to pull away from these guys again, because the way he's racing now, these guys are going to catch up.
Absolutely. When they were doing the IndyCar shuffle, where they were actually passing each other to maintain, if not build, their speed and of course gain a gap, they were actually having an advantage, and they were keeping that distance. They were, growing that distance. But this stopping the passing routine is actually hurting them. It's actually allowing the group behind them who are doing it to gain ground, because when you've got a group of 5 cars, the leader and second place can swap positions. But when you've got 2 separated groups, they're both going to have the draft ability. As we've got a car in front of your leaders who's going to get out of the way, we think, or Simon Edwards will use it for the draft and then pull out, of course, as they didn't actually come off their line. This is allowing that second group to really utilize that draft potential and move forwards here, as we're going to see if Cat will do anything or just sit there.
Yeah, it's they have actually dropped off a little bit, and that lap car will definitely help the front two, though. So anything fantastic happening here. It doesn't look like the gap opened up too much, but that lap car definitely helped the front two. Ward going back into third place, though, ahead of Lee Hughes. Just keep on swapping. Pattinson is happy sitting back there in 5th. Daniels is dropping back in 6th as well, so he's not keeping up. So we're heading into a 5-car battle here for the win. As you can see now, Ward moves out of line past Edwards, but he backs in behind him again, and that gap is now down to under 1 second from third up to second place. So if they can just keep up now around the first half of the lap, they are definitely going to close right up to them down the straightaway using the draft.
Absolutely, I can see that just happening here, as that gap is definitely coming down now. 1 second separating your lead 2 and the group behind them. And that's bringing them into a real competitive window here, Linus, where this tactic we're seeing from Anthony Cat is bringing those cars into the fight, which could mean neither of them win the race. Rather than them being guaranteed 1-2, it's more likely now to be potentially for 5th and 4th.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. And you can see here, Ward is right almost up on the back of Anthony Cat. And with Lee Hughes drafting past him here now, I don't know if he's even going to be able to do that, as Ward also has the draft. But it's going to be very, very close at the front. And here comes Cat now. Now it's time to make a move. Now he realized that these guys are too close. But it's too late, I think. These guys are right up with them. And actually Hughes is out of line now, not making a move on Ward instead. So that might actually hurt these 3 cars. We'll have to see what happens. But Anthony Cat back in the lead ahead of Simon Edwards, and Ward is right on them now.
Absolutely, as here we go now. This is definitely come into a 5-car fight on lap 11 here of 15. So as we cross the line, we're going to be 4 laps to go here. 4 laps remaining in this race, and all of a sudden we've switched from 2 cars going to win this thing potentially to now a group of cars, including one of the most hungry drivers, Linus, we've had in the series, Tom Ward, as there's a car off ahead of them, but he's on asphalt, so he should be okay to hold his positioning, but he's going to be swallowed up pretty quickly by these guys. Suddenly we've got one of the most hungry drivers in the series, Tom Ward, and one of the most really kind of deserving drivers in Claire Hughes, who's shown great aggression as well and willingness to put his car in the right place to make a move. So this could definitely become a very, very exciting finale.
Well, Tom Ward has the least to lose because he's not running a full season. He's only done 2 races so far, I believe, this season. The other 3 are racing for a championship. And then you've got Ewan Patterson. Oh, as Cat almost hits that lap car, and Edwards has to slam on the brakes to not run into the back of him. That's going to cause a huge stack up and give Ward and Hughes a good chance down the straightaway. Here comes Ward. He's going to move up into second. Cat is going to use that lap car for draft to be able to move up, well, to get away from these cars actually. And that's Mark Murphy, who is now staying well to the left, getting out of the way. But you can see here, Hughes is up into second. He's actually going to move to the inside of Cat. Going to be late on the brakes. They're going to be side by side into the chicane. But Cat is going to be able to clear him. Edwards back in third. He's going to try and make a move back up alongside him. Not going to be able to do it though, and that is not used. That's actually Tom Ward moving up into second.
Yeah,
that
really
was a good move from Ward.
Absolutely going to shake things up as Ward's going to be hungry down for the lead as he jumps up the inside of Cat. And this is the product of what Cat has done. Cat not swapping position there with Edwards has just swallowed the pair of them up now, and neither of them may win this race, which I have to believe is a foolhardy decision on Anthony Cat's place, as this has become a very, very busy race now. As off goes Cat, off goes Edwards, as the entire race is shaken up now, as your two former leaders now relegated to 4th, 5th, even lower back now. They're behind Ben Daniels. This has just changed the entire outlook. So, I mean, I'm not going to be offensive here, but this is all on Anthony Cat for not passing for so many laps and destroying that 2-second gap. I can't understand the racing logic in that, Linus.
Well, it kind of is. It was weird. Maybe we can ask Edwards after the race if he knows what was up, as we get another replay here. It's weird because Simon Edwards seems to have lost his rear wing. Cat just went too hard into there, as did Ward, kind of forcing Cat off the road. It's kind of hard to tell, but well, that was interesting. And Ward has lost his rear wing. Edwards has lost his rear wing, so he is definitely not gonna be up to speed for the rest of this race.
Absolutely not. I mean, you got to expect Tom Ward to be an aggressive driver. He will put his car in the position it has to be to make that pass. That's the way he drives, and you driving against Tom Ward need to expect that to race accordingly. So I don't think that's on anybody but the drivers around someone that's like that to read into that situation and expect it and react accordingly. Tom Ward now across the line, your leader after a shock change in things on lap 13. We are 2 to go here at Road Atlanta, and the entire outlook of this race has changed.
It really has, and these three guys racing third, fourth, and fifth, sorry, my English is not very good, are now racing for first, second, and third all of a sudden because of that move. So Ian Pattinson is within a chance of getting a win here, and that's been a very long time since that happened last time, as we're now on board with him coming around this tricky left-hander. Is really bumpy. You can see up on the curve, over the gravel, back onto the racing surface, and he's going to be using the draft this time by to get up into the lead, I would guess. So and then maybe Lee Hughes will follow him into second, so Ward could be dropping to third here pretty quickly.
Absolutely, definitely want to see how this one plays forwards, of course, but we've seen that gap already building there for poor old Simon Edwards, who's now got no rear wing. His car definitely not holding up speed-wise with Ward, Patterson and Hughes, who are now your top three. Here comes Patterson to take the lead, coming on to the back straight here in the run down towards chicane, and that'll put Ewan Patterson out front for, well, at least the majority of the next half a lap at least over Tom Ward, unless we see a pass in turn 1 and 2. But does Tom Ward want to be in second place is the point for the next run around the lap. So will he stay there knowing he has the potential to pass him on the back stretch and win this thing? I think Tom Ward will stay behind Patterson here, and this being an ideal circumstance for him.
Well, Lee Hughes backed out of there as well, possibly to be able to stay in third, so maybe he thinks that third place is the place to be. Whereas Ward is now currently in second, almost looking like he's trying to back him behind Lee Hughes, but Hughes is not wanting to go into second place. And Pattinson actually opens up a bit of a gap there. I don't think that's going to be enough though. But Pattinson definitely not in the best seat at the moment coming onto the straightaway, and as you can see in the background there, Simon Edwards is keeping up somehow. He's making that car work. Maybe that rear wing isn't giving these cars too much help, because he's proving it here that he can keep up. And now there's another lapped car right in front of these guys. Let's see if we can figure out how that is. That would be Rick Selby. He is getting out of the way nicely though, letting these guys race it out for the win. So here we go on to the last straightaway for the last time of the race, around 7.
This is the opportunity for Tom Ward now. This is the real chance to make this happen. Edwards is on top of this though again. He's found his way back to this group. Will it be a podium finish for him though is the question. I don't think he's got the speed and the actual downforce there to really make that happen, but Tom Ward's going to look to the outside now. This is where he needs to go. He's got Hughes behind him. Hughes is going to try and make this 3 wide if the door opens, and he's going to put it in there. Not going to be an opening for Clay Hughes, though, as Tom Ward does have the racing line now. Will we see a move? Big dive from Clay Hughes. Will it go? Not quite. He dives into the inside, across the curbing, Patterson around the outside. And contact with those two as Edwards comes through, and a catastrophe happens without, Anthony Cat around. But here comes Simon Edwards to take second place as Tom Ward will come across the line as the winner. The man who started on pole comes home in second place. Ewan Patterson in third. Well, that took a bit of a change.
That was very unexpected. Lee Hughes definitely going for it. Actually, well, unfortunately making some contact there with Pattinson, but Pattinson still able to come home in third. So that's a job well done from him. Very unfortunate though. As he had the chance to win, but you know, it's racing. You got to go for it if you got an opening.
Absolutely, and that changed everything for us today so far. So we're going to go to, once we see everyone else come across the line, that is. Last couple of corners, cars coming across now as 1 or 2 have just come off in the last section. But everyone coming across the line now down to the 25th, 26th place here. Trying to work out who that was. Spun around. It was Parnell. Peter Parnell had a spin in the last corner. He's coming now, but running order now for the race. Tom Ward with Simon Edwards in second place, with Ewan Patterson in third. Ben Daniels fourth, with Clay Hughes in fifth. Anthony Cat in sixth place with Matt Cox, Jack Hobbs, Matthew Crisp, and Gary Tall in 10th. Great result from him. Dave Martin, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, Peter Cowan in 13th with Jack Knight, Nick Sigley, Steve Hefford, Jake Ridlington 17th with Paul Thurston back in the series. Welcome back, Paul Thurston. In 18th place with Michael R. Cook and Reese Hardwick in 20th. Rest of those positions on your screen, Linus. I don't know what this race was. We had a huge shake-up in lap 1, and we had a huge shake-up at the end there. That was a crazy race.
Yeah, it was a bit of a start incident again, which we're not used to seeing in this series. And then the front two just pulled off, and then they stopped helping each other, bringing these guys back up to him. And that was what looked like it was going to be a pretty boring race. Actually turned out to be quite interesting. And Lee Hughes going for it all in the last couple of corners, dropping him back to 5th, unfortunately. But still a very good race all the way through. And Ben Daniels going from 10th up to 4th. That's a pretty decent result from him.
Yeah, certainly will be. Well, a very fantastic result over there, and an exciting end to this race. We are going to wrap things up for the night, as I think we're going to be on our own here yet again. So thank you very much for joining us, folks, and we will catch you same time next week for more Monday Night Skippies. Good night.